Hello again, and welcome to the Void. So, on today's topic of topics, we will be talking about more town. Why? Because I hate myself and lost a bet and need to paint 3,000 points of town and have 2k to get through. So, today we will be talking about Commander Farsight. I was about to say Shadow Sun. No, Farsight. So, Farsight is a legend. Maybe not legendary, but he's up there. Tau Empire renegade, and he founded the Farsight Enclaves, a breakaway faction free from Ethereal control. Because Farsight has some beef with the Imperials, valid to be fair. So he's known for his tactical brilliance of some sorts against the Orcs and the Imperial of Man. So he's a decent tactician. He's a bit like Napoleon, but we all know what happened to Napoleon in the end. He died. So his sword that he uses is called Dawnblade, which was found on a demon-haunted world of Athos Mulch. We'll say Mulch. And it is literally what he uses to extend his life. So he should be long dead, but no, his sword does the work for him. But I would believe that it would be unfair if we just paint Farsight up on his own. I think he needs some boys to chill with, so we are also, firstly, before we get on to the main event, Farsight himself, we're going to paint up some sunforge battlesuits. So let's get to it. So just before the painting starts, we are actually going to do some things to the base, mainly because this takes about 7 decades to dry and it'd be good to get it started first. So we're going to take some PVA glue and we're going to apply it onto the base where we would like some rocks. And then after you do that, you're going to then apply said sand rocks to your base. And then you're going to take them off. And then I use watered down PVA glue. You can use super thin, ultra thin super glue, which would be the better option. And you're going to wait for that to dry. Now, this is one part that will take 7 years because it's like a watered glue. So it's going to take a while. So you're going to have to wait for that to dry. But then after that has dried, you're then going to take a certain paint, which to be fair, I probably should have had in advance, but I like to do these all in one take instead of actually redoing them a ton. So as I slowly get up and try to find it, said paint. Here we go. You're gonna take Agrillion Earth. It'll pop up on screen anyway. And you're gonna apply this depending on how thick you want the cracks, you're gonna apply it more thickly. And just to remember, this is not my basing scheme. It is indeed from another YouTuber whose links will all be in the description. His name being Neural Miniatures, so all his links will be in the description. I highly recommend you check him out. He is very good at painting. And yeah, so that would be all we have to do before we actually do the bases. You're also going to do these exact same steps to Farsight as well, so don't forget his base, and the rocks that I would actually recommend where you put them is just under the rock that he actually stands on, if you're keeping it. If not, fair enough. I chose 2 because I kind of like to keep them, so you'll see that later. But we are going to be painting these 4 lovely lot using slap chopping. Now, I've been seeing this on my YouTube shorts feed and kind of wanted to try it. So, I know you're probably sitting there not wondering what I'm about to say, but let's just say you are for the purpose of this segment. So you're probably sitting there thinking, random guy on a screen, what is slap chopping? Well, in my expertise of not very much, this is how I would describe it. It's kind of like going to your local bank, right? You put in your credit card, you wait in, you get your money out, but they don't give you your card. So instead of going into said bank like some normal person and being like, oh yeah, ain't my card, can you help me get it out? You do the distinguish thing and batter the machine until it gives it to you. Now, the whole credit card thing was completely useless, but the battering of it is kind of right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our model that is being prime black, and we're going to get a lightish grey, like a mid-tone kind of grey, not too light, not too dark, like a normal grey. And you're going to dry brush this quite heavily over the black, basically. So it's going to cover all the bits that you can get to in highlight as well as the places that be black will stay dark when we actually eventually go to paint it. But then, after you have done the grey, you're then going to go back for round 2 with a white, which will be a kind of light dry brushing. It's not going to be a heavy one. And you're going to dry brush that basically over all the areas where you want highlights. So on these ones, I didn't. I just kind of battered it and went ham with it, which you will see where there's highlights in certain odd spots, but it still came out really well. But with Farsight later on, which we'll see, what I'd done was I done it in the areas where I wanted the sun to hit, which is where I would highly recommend you do it. So yeah, that is basically Start Dropping 101 with some random guy on the internet. Now that you have successfully committed 2 counts of assault on your mini, we're going to take Blood Angel's Red and you're going to apply this over every bit of armor on the model. So that's going to be his normal arm that you can see on his body, his dodgy 3 toes, the bits on his weapons as well. So it's basically just going to be the parts on the top end of the weapon and not near the kind of energy gas canister thing on the bottom. You're also going to paint his jetpacks red. So that's basically everything on his jetpacks red apart from the um air things on the back. I don't know what they're called. But essentially this is what it should look like. We are now going to tackle the non-armor parts of the battle suits, which we are going to use Rattling Grime for. So you're going to take Rattling Grime and you're just going to apply it over his leg bits where they're like bare, because obviously budget cuts, so don't get no full armor. As well as we're going to use it on the joints on his elbows of sorts, and we are going to use it on the actual like arm joint, if you can see it at the top, as well as the fingertips, because I'm pretty sure we will have armor on his fingertips, and that would about do it for that. We are now going to move on to the tau symbols on the model. So we're going to take Dragon's Gold from Toothing Coats, and we're going to paint this over every single symbol on the boys, being 1 on his chest, 1 on the shoulder, and then 2 on the good old jetpacky things. Jetpacky things, or they like booster things? Eternal Thoughts. But yeah, you just want to apply this generously. I still thinned it down so that it wasn't too patchy. But I found 1 coat worked pretty good for me, but if it doesn't for you, I would just highly recommend applying the second one. And I know what you're thinking. Surely in this colour scheme it should be black, and you would be right. But I want some similarities to my other tower that I've painted, so I thought by doing it gold, it kind of just matches a little bit better. We are then going to take Glistening Gold, and we're going to apply this to the model to highlight the gold. So you're just going to apply it basically in the exact same place where you put it before. But you only want to place it in the areas where the sun would be hitting it the most, basically. And when doing this, just don't do a me and pick up the biggest brush you basically have, and then get annoyed when it goes onto the red and have to go back to your red. But mistakes do happen, and we're human, it's going to happen. And if it does happen when you paint it, you can always just go back with the red and go over them. Now, for the final highlight of gold, we're going to take white gold from Procreal, and you're just going to put this onto the areas that we already kind of highlighted, because where this is a further highlight, you don't want to put it on the area that isn't highlighted, because then the highlight won't look like a highlight and look off on the highlight. A lot of highlight, but you should hopefully get the point. You're then going to take Evil Sun Scarlet, and you're going to mix this with a black of your choice to kind of make like a dark maroon kind of color. And we're going to use this as the secondary color to make stripes in his armor, as well as color the other bit of his gun in it that we left blank, apart from the gas tank of it and then the front of it. It's just so that we can change the whole red up so it doesn't just look like one big red blob, basically. We are then going to paint the white parts of the model. Now, painting with white is basically the most painful thing I think I've ever done in my life. So it is going to be painful for you too, probably, because you can't really get white to stay very well in the sense of if you're not using an airbrush, it comes out quite patchy in that. So we're gonna paint the helmet with the head of the guys white. You are gonna probably need to do multiple coats of it, and just try and make sure it's not too patchy. I don't really know how to do that because mine came out a little bit patchy. I think just apply it a little bit thicker than what you usually would, and then hopefully it shouldn't come out patchy. So to tackle the plasma on the model, we're going to use AK Wargames Psychic Blue. And one thing I would recommend that I should have said in the last segment, but I forgot to, is I would paint white over the spots where you are going to want to apply this, just so it comes out really bright. So we're going to put this onto the areas of the eyes, well, the lens eyes, we'll call them lenses, as well as we're going to want to do it in the areas where the energy is. So his weapon, as well as I didn't do it, but you could, is you could actually put it on his shield, which could be kind of cool. It's up to you. And also, my shields I use drone heads for because the small ones are just kind of small, and I don't think they look as good as they could have. For the final step of the sunforge battle suits, we're going to take Evil Sun Scarlet, and you're just going to edge highlight with it, which you would have been able to see in the clip that's now playing. But my fat head is in the way, and clearly did not realise that if I was to move my head the tiniest bit to the right, you would actually be able to see it. So my apologies there, but the finished model that you'll be seeing in literally about 5 seconds will show you what the edge highlighting is. And here they are in all their glory, the Star Scythe battlesuits. There are a few things I would change if I was to do them again. I think the plasma when I done them came out a bit eh. So I think I would try and learn how to improve doing the plasma effect so it kind of feels like it's actually glowing. But I don't know how to do how I would do it without an airbrush. As well as I would also change maybe the helmet color. I'm sure white is good, but I might have changed it to like a light grey, like a really light grey. But all in all, I think they came out alright. And now it's time on to the main event. Commander Farsight. And here he is, Farsight himself. So we're going to do what we done to the other minis that we done, and we're going to slap chop them as well. So we're going to do it with a grey first, a light grey, get it all over, as well as then we're going to do it with a white, but on this time you're only going to do it on the raised areas, like not raised, but like the places where you really want the highlights the most. So depending on where you want the light coming in from, whether it's above, left, right, middle, up, down, BA star, is where you're going to put the white. We're then going to take Blood Angels Red, and just like the Sunforge battlesuits, we're going to paint this only on the armor of Farsight, as well as the outside of his shield. So not the inside this time, but the outside of it. Mainly because we're actually going to keep the inside of his shield, the slap drop, because it just looks really nice in my opinion. As well as his sword, we are also going to keep as that slap chop because it also looks like it's damaged, the paint's come off, and stuff like that. Here is what Farsight should look like, hopefully, after you have painted on his red. So we're hitting the jetpacks, the little bits of armor on his legs, his toes. You can't forget the toes, right? You have to paint the toes. In fact, toes are the most important part of Farsight, in my opinion. After you have painted Farsight's toes, that we're gonna take Rattling Grime, and we're gonna put this on the armor bits as well. So we're basically just doing the exact same as we've done before onto Farsight. So you're gonna put it on his legs, his chest, the pipes on his armor, as well as you're gonna put it on the handle of his sword and the wraps on his sword. And the other thing you're gonna put it on is his arms and the underneath bits of his jetpack. So now we're going to tackle the golds, and instead of making you sit through it all one by one again, we're going to cover it all of them at once, technically, because nothing says questioning your life decisions like watching the exact same thing happen twice in a row, basically. So you're going to take Dragon's Gold, Glistening Gold, and White Gold, and you're going to apply them in that order. So once again, we're just going to apply it where we want it to be the brightest. We are next going to cover all the white bits on the model. So we're going to take white. Yeah, I know, original. It's white. Yeah, but we're gonna take white and we're gonna apply it onto the head of the model, as well as the little power thing on his wrist. But we're gonna want to water that down a little bit because we're also gonna use this to make our plasma kind of hit better. So that means you're also gonna apply it to the sword, as well as anything else that you want power to. But one thing I did do is all the little wing thingamajiggies. I added it to there to add a bit of difference to the model, because all it would be then is one bit of white and just red and a lot of red. So it's up to you though. It's your model. I'm not gonna tell you how to paint your model, even though technically this is a tutorial and it is kind of telling you how to paint your model, but that's besides the point. We're then gonna take the tried and true paint Agrox Earthshade, and we're gonna put this over all the white parts apart from the sword glowy thingamajiggies in the glowing bit of the glow, and the gauntlet, the data thing. Do you know what? It's that thing on his arm. But you're basically just gonna put this on his noggin, to his head, as well as the white bits on the back of his wings and armor. It's now flipping, where am I going with that? It's now time to change the armor a little bit and add diversion to it a bit. So you're going to take a black of your choice and a red, a light red, hopefully. And you're going to mix this kind of like where it's mainly darker than what it is lighter. And you're going to apply this basically in the areas where you want that slight change. I would say on the shoulder pad on his left, and then maybe on his armor. I didn't put any on his legs, but on his chest armor. We are then going to take your sharp tier button, and you're going to paint this over the sash thing. I think it's a sash, scrolls, sash. We'll go with sash. And you can paint this over it on the sword. Now, this will need two coats, and after you have painted the two coats over it, you're then going to give it a wash with Agrox Earthshade. I'm just a bit of a pleb and forgot to record me giving it a wash. But that is what you can do afterwards. It's now time to tackle the plasma. So we're going to take AK War Game Psychic Blue, and we're basically just going to paint this over all the areas that we want to be like energy. So that is going to be the lens in his helmet, which is a pain to try and get to. So good luck. And the thingamajiggy in his arm, which I have now clarified and come to the conclusion that it is some kind of hologram communication device. So, yes, as well as the sword and his gun, his weapon, because he's got a sword that's glowing, he has to have a gun that's glowing. It is now time for the base. So you're going to take Xandri dust and you're going to paint this over the whole base. But you can do it in three thin coats, because if you apply it thickly, it will cover up the cracks that we have waited 7 years to put on. So just apply it very thinly. You're then going to take Doomball Brown and you're going to make this into like a very watery mix and place it onto the rocks on the base. including Farsights as well. So we're doing Farsights at the exact same time. We're like finishing them off. And a good cameo from the side of my noggin, right? My apologies, you have to see the side of my head that kind of covers up half the things that you're supposed to be showing you. But yeah, beginner and all. So yeah, you just want to get a watery mix and basically just put it all over the rocks. It's just so it blends better because it'd be really watery and it would still tint the rocks. You're then going to take your Shapti bone and you're basically going to do the exact same, apart from we're not watering it down as much in a sense. Like I would dry brush this on kind of because when I watered it down, it got into the cracks, meaning that the cracks don't show as prominent. Actually, actually, no, do water it down. Do water it down. Don't worry about what I say actually, because I've just realised later on, looking at the ones that I've completed, they actually do have still look better with the cracks. Don't worry, just do water it down. We're then going to darken the base a little bit because it's looking a bit too bright for my liking. So we're going to take Agrok's Earthshade from before, and you're just going to smother the whole base in it. You want to get it as dark as possible. Make sure it's not too heavily smothered in certain areas where it stays quite thick, but you just want to smother it. Kind of like, now I've got to kind of figure out a thing for this. Kind of like if, say, you were playing a certain horror game, right? And you're getting intense, and all of a sudden your sibling busts in the room, and you're just like fuming because you've just the crap's get out of you because they've just busted in the room, and you're that annoyed at them, basically like that. And the only reason I am saying that is because I have been playing Resident Evil 9, and it is brilliant. You're then gonna take Xandri dust again, and you're gonna dry brush this on over basically everything, just bringing it up that little bit. I did it a tiny bit too heavily, so I would recommend you do thin it down quite a bit. You want it to be like a thin dry brush, in my opinion, to get the best out of it. But it depends on how you want it to look, really, because your bases. After this, what we're gonna do then is we're gonna take you Shapti bone again as well, and we're going to literally very thinly dry brush this over the cracked areas just to bring them out a bit and make them stand out from the rest of it. It's now time to just focus solely in on finishing Farsight space. So we're going to take Speed Paint Darkwood and you're just going to paint this all over the trees because we already done the base, the main majority of the base. So now it's just literally cleaning up the last couple details, being the tree. I generally think, yeah, it's actually only a tree. But yeah, so take Darkwood, place it all over, and the slap chop from before should help lighten it up a bit so that it's not too dark. So after that has dried, you're going to take Doom Ball Brown from before, and you're just going to dry brush this over the tree, because one thing I have now figured out is that, yeah, speed paint's quite dark, especially, yeah, dark brown. I mean, it's kind of in the name, really. I'm just a bit down with it, notice that, but yeah, we're just going to line that up with some Doom Ball Brown. Now on to the final step of the whole painting process. We're going to take a War Boss Green, and you're just gonna paint this over all the leaves because, a matter of fact, I actually did my research on this one. Yes, I know, research. Never heard of it before, I have, but I did it this time. And I looked up desert plants, and most of them are green, so we're gonna go with green. So yeah, just gonna basically paint this all over the leaves. One coat should be fine, and that basically does it for the painting. I think it's now time for the final reveal of all of the boys. And that about does it. That is Commander Farsight and the boys painted. I think it went well. There's a few things I think I can improve upon going back. Which I would say is one, painting white, painful. The second thing would be the data thing. Oh, what they called? What they called? What they called? What they called? Um, Transfers of the transfer sheet. I think I need to get a little bit better at placing them because they look a bit off. But all in all, I think they came out very nice, and they are pictures instead of videos. Sorry about that. They are pictures instead of videos because I have very shaky hands when I hold my camera. So instead of making it look like you're watching some schizophrenic, try and film something, I just thought pictures would do a bit better. So thank you all for watching, and if you did enjoy it and you want and you, I can't speak English. Like if you did enjoy and it's not too much trouble, please consider subscribing and liking if you want to as well. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.